the release of the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special on Disney Plus, Phase 4 of the MCU comes to a close. It saw 7 films, 8 seasons of television, a series of animated shorts, and 2 special presentations totaling, get this, 18 projects in 2 years. So, I figure, just as everyone is right now, that I should rank all of Marvel Phase 4 from the worst to the best. Disclaimer before we do this, no, my list isn't the right list, it's just my opinion. Feel free to leave yours, or at least some of yours, because I know it's a hard list to write, down in the comments below. I look forward to seeing what you guys think. Alright, with those things out of the way, let's hop into my ranking of Phase 4 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
He's just my first bad guy.
You never forget your first.
It pains me to put it down here, but at number 18 we have Thor: Love and Thunder. This movie took the amazing character that Thor became coming out of Ragnarok, Infinity War, and Endgame, and it completely ruined him. It turned him into an idiot. It completely undid his arc. He doesn't seem worthy anymore. He seems very selfish again. Where is that amazing Thor that we had in the previous films? It has Jane Foster in here, Natalie Portman returns, but the only issue is she's not given the time she needs to be compelling. They skip over her becoming Thor. She becomes Thor off screen and we catch back up with her and she's selfless, she's a superhero, she has mastered her powers. We skip over so much of it. You have Christian Bale, one of the greatest actors in the world, in the movie for maybe 5 minutes, and his character's named Gore the God Butcher, but we don't see him butcher any gods. You have the Guardians in here for about a minute to give some exposition. You have Korg irritating the audience the entire time. You have the Screaming Goats, whatever the hell was up with them. They're making jokes every step of the way in a movie that's adapting Thor's 2 most serious stories, the Mighty Thor storyline and the Gore the God Butcher storyline. From start to finish, this film is a mess, and I love Taika Waititi's work, but if there's a Thor 5, I hope he does not do it.
I guess I have to freestyle then.
At number 17, we have What If Season 1. I was actually hesitant to include animated stuff on here because Feige kind of views that separately, but I did anyway because I felt like it. So I was very disappointed in What If. It's a show I was super excited for because it showed something completely different and it saw the return of Marvel animation, which is something that, we haven't really seen in a, quality capacity for a while. I guess I was foolish in thinking it would come back in a quality capacity. But it's a roller coaster of a show where you have episodes that just feel like they did a find and replace, replacing one character with a different character. You have episodes that kind of spit in the face of everything. The Star-Lord T'Challa episode I know people love, but to me that kind of ruins Star-Lord. You have the Party Thor episode, which is a disgrace to storytelling. But then you have some good stuff, like you have the murder mystery with Hank Pym killing the Avengers, and you have the Doctor Strange episode, which I still think is the greatest episode we've seen from MCU Disney Plus television. But for the most part, this show comes off as very forgettable. The episodes are all like 35 minutes long. They're each standalone, so you never get a proper amount of time to sit with these characters. Most of them end on cliffhangers. They're jumping from one thing to the next way too quick. The zombie episode is a prime example of this. And the fact that these characters have in no way, shape, or form connected to the MCU makes it even more disappointing. We saw Agent Carter in Multiverse of Madness. There was literally no reason she needed to be a different Captain Carter than the one in What If. So it makes What If feel so inconsequential, so pointless, and they had a show that had so much creative freedom, but they didn't do anything too super creative, in my opinion. The only reason this is not at the very bottom is because the beauty of this show being set in separate timelines is that it can't completely destroy all the dignity that its characters had. Coming in at number 16, we have the most recent series.
Life would be so much easier if I was just Jen.
I think you're in a unique position to do some real good. Jen Walters can use the law to help people when society fails them. She-Hulk can help people when the law fails them.
This guy's really kind of doing it for me.
She-Hulk Attorney at Law. This actually moved a bit. This was not originally at the bottom of my TV show ranking, but it came down a little bit from that initial show ranking I did a few weeks ago. She-Hulk is interesting. I think the first 2 episodes of She-Hulk are great, especially the first episode. I really like the first episode, and I think the last 2 episodes are good. I love the Daredevil episode. That's a great episode. And the finale, for all the sort of weird stuff it causes with the rest of the show, the finale is so accurate to who She-Hulk is as a character, I cannot help but love that episode. My issue really lies with everything in between. Episodes 3 through 7 are not that exciting, and I do appreciate the notion to make them standalone adventures that she has to go on. It's something that worked out really well for The Mandalorian, but my issue with this is that none of these were particularly interesting. The ending of Abomination's trial was not as exciting as it could have been. Wong having to deal with a dude who stole a sling ring does not interest me at all, and I am one of the few people who absolutely despises the eternally drunk Madison.
Madison is with 2 N's, 1 Y, but it's not where you think.
Episodes 5 and 6 are propped up by the fact that Jamila Jamil is clearly having a blast as Titania, and she brings a sort of presence to the show. And yeah, I find episode 7 pretty enjoyable. I like the monologue She-Hulk gives, but I can't help but think about the fact that none of those episodes in the middle do anything super interesting or particularly fun that makes them worth rewatching. So the bookends of the show are solid, but the middle part, it's very hard to keep your attention, and if this was not an MCU show, the chances of me being able to hang on past episode 3 would have been very slim. I love Jennifer Walters as a character. I think her arc is beautiful. I love what this show did for Daredevil. I'm interested to see where they take this version of Abomination, but She-Hulk as a whole left a lot to be desired. At number 15, we have maybe one of the most controversial Marvel movies, at least according to the Rotten Tomatoes score.
We've loved these people since the day we arrived. When you love something, you protect it.
Now, I can't lie and say I get the urge to rewatch Eternals sometimes, but it really isn't that great of a movie. I think a few of the core Eternals are good. Icarus is so complex and easily the best character in the movie. Druig, Makari, and Phastos, I like them also. But the rest of the Eternals get barely any time in the spotlight because for some reason what they decided to do with this movie was introduce 10 new superheroes and make it not an origin story, but a getting the team back together story. Eternals should have been a 2-part movie. 1 part in the past and 1 part in the modern day because they tried to cram way too much content into a 2.5-hour movie or a series. This would have been a great 8-episode series. And part of the issue with structuring the movie the way they do is that things happen before we have time to realize what's going on. You have things happening to characters like Thena losing her memory or Ajak dying before we've gotten a chance to meet and understand who these people are. So as far as you're concerned, you're just watching a random NPC in the world, not one of your main characters. You have Gilgamesh dying, but the movie doesn't give the time to flesh out his relationship with Thena. You have characters make weird changes into who they are purely because they needed a conflict. Sprite turns evil, and then there's no consequences for her. She gets rewarded for turning evil. She gets what she wants. Kingo leaves the movie because they had too many characters, and then he comes back at the very end like, hey, I'm here too, as if he actually ended up doing something. You have Druig leave the final battle for a while and then just show up later to knock out Sprite. And when that has to happen, when you have to write characters out of your movie purely to give spotlight to other characters, it means you need to trim down your number of characters. I think by this point, the world-ending plotline had gotten so old that I felt nothing when a celestial hand sprouted up out of the earth, and the villains, the deviants, are a whole lot of nothing. There was a lot of room to put depth and complexity to these characters, and I honestly thought they were going to have the Deviants and the Eternals team up to defeat the Celestials, realizing they were both slaves to gods. But we never got that. And so, as much fun as I can have rewatching this movie, as much as I can be entertained, I can't ignore the fact that this movie has way too many mistakes to put it any higher on this list. At number 14, we have one that was almost 15, and that is...
Seatbelts on. She's such a mom.
So Black Widow got the fun job of being the very first Marvel movie after COVID. Or I guess that was still during COVID. Now I will say that watching this movie in theaters, I do think enhanced the experience than if I had watched it on streaming. Yes, this movie should have come out in 2016. This should have come out right after Captain America Civil War. This should have come out during the Infinity Saga. This is totally a Phase 3 film. I think Scarlett Johansson, this is her best performance she's ever had as Natasha. Yelena Belova, played by Florence Pugh, is one of my favorite Marvel characters. You have Red Guardian, played by David Harbour, who I'm so happy is coming back. And do I wish that him and Rachel Weisz got more screen time? Yes, but I'll take what I can get with them. Taskmaster's action on screen is cool to look at, but they totally do a disservice to Taskmaster as a character. I'm completely fine with Taskmaster being a female. I think that actually worked out great for the story. My issue lies with the fact that in the comics, Taskmaster talks a lot of shit, and Taskmaster has photographic memory. It's a superpower, essentially, that Taskmaster has that makes him able to copy other heroes. Doesn't happen in this. Taskmaster copies moves purely by analyzing it through computer screens, and that's just not Taskmaster to me. Also, the character does not look like Taskmaster. She looks like a Nerf gun. I think this movie's at its best when it is a spy thriller, when it feels like they're going for more of a serious tone, something like Winter Soldier or Civil War. The movie does not stick to it very well, but I think that's at its best. In the first, 2/3 of the movie, regardless of the issues, I love the 2/3 of Black Widow. Not in their amazing way, but just I have so much fun watching them way. But when we get into the third act, and the Red Room is a giant floating flying fortress, and Black Widow and Taskmaster falling to Earth, running across metal platforms, Legolas style, the movie starts to lose me. It also does my least favorite thing in all of screenwriting, which is have a quick fix to a solution because they're too lazy to find an actual one. In this movie, they just miraculously have red dust that they spray on people, and then the Black Widow curse is broken. So the movie's not that great. It has a lot of issues, but I do enjoy this movie a lot. And when I had COVID, a year ago actually, this was the movie I really wanted to rewatch. Coming in at number 13.
You can't lose this fight. If we do this, we're gonna do it our own way.
The Falcon and the Winter Soldier is an interesting thing, because I never know if this is a good series or a bad series. The stories of Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes are absolutely incredible in this show, and that's the highlight of this show. Their two journeys, Bucky's redemption arc and Sam's legacy arc, are the best parts. And then of course you've got, Isaiah Bradley, who's thrown in there, who's a great character. I'm so glad he's coming back in Captain America New World Order. You have John Walker, U.S. agent, who I think is maybe the best character to come out of Phase 4, because even though Yelena's so fun and charming, you love seeing her on screen, John Walker brings a certain complexity that I love seeing in my characters. Zemo's here for some of it, and I mean, he's fine. I like his purpose in the show, but I don't really like that they turned him into Baron Zemo. I preferred Helmet Zemo that he was in Civil War. And you do have to sort of cut this show some slack because the Flag Smasher storyline was going to involve a virus and a pandemic and things we were going through in the world at the time that they felt like cutting it out. They didn't feel comfortable putting that out there, and that causes the villains to suffer. Carly Morgenthau is such a bad villain, and the show wants you to feel something when she dies, but the only thing I felt was pure joy. But I think really one of the biggest issues the show does is it doesn't really add anything to the MCU mythos that we hadn't already figured out from Avengers Endgame. This series starts and ends with Sam at pretty much the exact same place he was in Avengers Endgame, so you could probably skip this show in the future and miss absolutely nothing. And that bothers me.
Thank you. I'll do my best.
This is also the perfect example of a show that should have been a film. This is a mediocre 5-hour show that could have been cut down into an amazing 2.5-hour movie. I would like to see the guy who cut Obi-Wan Kenobi into a movie cut the Falcon and the Winter Soldier into a movie, because this is such a movie. Alright, let's move on.
I am Groot.
I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I got a kick out of I Am Groot. I Am Groot becomes really good when people realize it's not supposed to connect to anything, and it's just a series of fun, short films that they put out. Seeing Groot go on all these wacky adventures, and my big worry is they would use I Am Groot to the point that I wanted to kill Groot, but they didn't. And yes, these are targeted towards little kids, but that doesn't mean I can't enjoy them also. Take the Pixar shorts, for example. There's really nothing to talk about with I Am Groot besides the fact that they were just super fun. And I don't have any issues with I Am Groot. I really enjoyed it. But the only reason it's down this low is because it feels weird to put this at number 1. Also, I kind of wish instead of releasing these on Disney Plus all at the same time, they put one in front of each Marvel movie. Think what Disney does. They put a short animated film in front of the feature film you're about to watch. I think they should have done that for I Am Groot. Just put an I Am Groot right before the film starts and watch the film. I think that would have been smarter than how they released it. I guess that's my only negative. Alright, coming at number 11.
Things have gotten more complicated.
Hawkeye is another example of something that would have been a really good movie, but it at least feels like enough of a show that I'm not too bent out of shape about it. I love Jeremy Renner as Clint Barton. I think his relationship with Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop is great, and that's the best casting Marvel's ever had since Robert Downey Jr., by the way, is Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop. And when this shows the two of them doing their thing, having their fun banter, ensuing in hijinks, I mean, the things I think of is that amazing single-take car chase when Clint has to go to, I can't remember what that festival is, but he has to use his fake sword to get the Ronin suit back. When you're just having Clint and Kate just chatting, decorating. It's the stuff like that that makes this show great. And after I record this video, I'm gonna go watch Hawkeye. I forgot to put on my Santa hat. Alright, I am gonna be posting this in the first few days of December, which means I should have had this on the whole time. Oh yeah, by the way, the action in the show, that is very fun. Then you have other characters like Echo, who I'm not sure how they're going to give her own series, because she kind of had her complete arc in here. I don't know how you're going to possibly continue it. And this show introduces the greatest antagonists Marvel's ever had. I kid, but I do love the Tracksuit Mafia. But when it comes to some of our antagonists, I think this is where this show starts to falter a bit. Eleanor Bishop had a lot of her character and depth removed. You have Kazi, who didn't really feel like an interesting character, and what they did with Kingpin should be punishable by death.
that I am the ill intent who set upon the traveler on a road that he should not have been on. Speak her name again! Go ahead! I will never stop hunting Karen Page or Foggy Nelson. I will tell the world who you really are.
They should have kept in all the deleted scenes, quite honestly. Why are you deleting scenes in a streaming show? There's no time constraints. Just put it all in there. I know what happened, and it's the result of hype culture ultimately, is they cut out all the Kingpin stuff in the first few episodes so they could make it an epic reveal. Which, yeah, sure, it was hype, and it was trending on Twitter for the entire week before the final episode came out, but it cut out all the depth and the layers they could have given Kingpin that would have made him not as good, but almost as good as the Netflix version of Kingpin. So all in all, a fun show. It has its issues. I don't like what it does with some of its characters, but it's an entertaining show that gets you in the Christmas spirit, starring two cool characters who I really love in both Hawkeyes, and hey, it's got some fun bow and arrow action. I'll take it. Bringing us into the top 10, we have a very, very controversial Marvel film, more so than Eternals. You either like this movie or you absolutely hate this movie, and there's no in between.
You break the rules.
Look out!
I become a hero. I do it, I become the enemy. It doesn't seem fair.
I enjoy Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I could not bring myself to put it any lower than I did. Every time I watch this movie, I start to like it a little more, but I also start to notice the issues with it more. The America Chavez exposition window being a great example of that. I don't think they ruined Wanda Maximoff in this. I think we are missing a little piece of her arc, but if you watch the post-credit scene in WandaVision, which every time people complain about this movie, I'm starting to think they didn't watch the post-credit scene in WandaVision, it literally sets up what's going to be happening in this film. So no, Multiverse of Madness didn't undo Wanda's arc. WandaVision did. I think Doctor Strange actually has a compelling arc in this. A lot of people say he doesn't. He does. Watch the movie again. It starts out with someone questioning if Doctor Strange, a character who we just always believe makes the right decision, truly made the right decision, and him always need to hold the knife and be the one in power. And the film ends with him letting America Chavez do that, and then also him basically turning into every other Doctor Strange and one of the most powerful beings on Earth being untrustworthy. I'm sorry, but that shit's cool. But what are the issues with Multiverse of Madness? The Illuminati, for as much of a purpose they serve in the movie, were clearly thrown in here just to be the cameo hype everyone wanted, because everyone wanted cameos in this movie. Yeah, I'm guilty as charged for that. I was part of the problem there. You have America Chavez, who isn't a character, she's a plot device. And then you just got the fact that for a movie called Multiverse of Madness, they only go to 3 universes, one of which is the main universe, one of which is our universe, but cooler looking and you go on red instead of green, and the other one is our universe, but about to explode. There's not much madness there, just some multiverse. Alright, let's go to number 9.
Did something happen to you?
No, why? Did you hear something?
Come on out.
What does it feel like?
Cosmic.
Miss Marvel was a show I did not think I would enjoy this much. I thought it would be a fun show, but it would feel more like a Disney XD show, which is not what I was really hoping it would be. But then I watched that first episode, and I watched that second episode, and I watched the third episode. I'm like, holy bejesus. This show's really good. You have an amazing performance in Iman Vellani. First thing she's ever acted in, by the way, and she's amazing. She's a Marvel fan off-screen. She's Kamala Khan on-screen and off-screen. You have great side characters with Zoe, Bruno, Nakia, all of Kamala's family, and you have this sort of grounded story in Jersey of, damage control being dicks and Kamala having to deal with that, and her entire neighborhood feels like characters and they feel fleshed out. But then you have these 2 episodes in the middle that suck balls, where they go globe-trotting and time-traveling. Just feels like it should have been a different season, not part of this season. It feels like this should be a 2-season show, with the Indian partition and time travel being part of season 2, because episodes 1, 2, 3, and 6, why did I do that? 1, 2, 3, and 6, the ones where they are in Jersey City, that stuff is what I loved about this show. And then you have the villains. I finally actually learned her name. I always say I can never learn the main villain's name. It's Najma. I'm pretty sure I finally figured it out. But this show is charming. It's filled with so much heart. I wish I could be a part of Kamala Khan's family. I also kind of wish I could date Aman Vellani, but that's besides the point. So this is a very fun show, brought down by a couple mediocre episodes, but that does not make the 4 amazing episodes any worse, and that keeps the show here in the middle.
I thought I could change my name. Start a new life. But I could never escape his shadow.
At number 8, we have Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. A lot of people are going to hate me because this isn't in the top 3. Everyone seems to love Shang-Chi, and I can understand why, because Shang-Chi's a fun movie, but it feels a little too Marvel for me. I'm kind of at the point with these movies where I like seeing them reinvent a little bit. I don't think Shang-Chi does that enough. It's our classical Marvel story thing that we all love from the Infinity Saga. This does feel like good old Infinity Saga again. And then they put a little martial arts coat of paint on it. And yes, it's amazing to look at, but the longer the film sits with me, the more I notice it's just classic Marvel with a martial arts coat of paint on it. You have a great new hero in Shang-Chi. You have a phenomenal villain in Tony Leung's Wenwu, who goes on the Mount Rushmore of MCU villains. And then you've just got some of the coolest looking characters ever. But I also kind of have an issue with the 3rd act of this film, because you have a relatively grounded first 2 acts, and then you go to the 3rd act, and they go to a separate universe within our universe. I don't understand how exactly Ta Lo works. And then you have the Mandarin unleashing a dragon, and the movie ends with Shang-Chi riding a dragon, fighting another dragon with the 10 rings that are the coolest weapon. I want the 10 rings. And then you have them throwing in things like Katie, who's the jokey sidekick. I do love there's not a romantic thing going on there. I just love that Shang and Katie are friends. You have them putting Ben Kingsley in there, who, as much as I love seeing Trevor Slattery again, and them trying to do something with Trevor Slattery and use Ben Kingsley, it does kind of ruin it when you're going from this insane universe-ending, world-altering battle, and then it cuts to Ben Kingsley and his headless pig playing dead on the ground. All in all, Shang-Chi feels like that Marvel a lot of us fell in love with, so it gets bonus points for that, but I do think it kind of goes off the rails at the end. Coming in at number 7, we have the newest entry in the MCU.
Something special he will never forget.
What about someone special?
The Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special was so beautiful and so cute and so wholesome that I almost had it higher. But as I made my list, I realized everything from here on up is friggin' amazing. I think the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special is one of the few things in Phase 4 that I watched and said, holy crap, that was the exact perfect length it needed to be. I like that we got to see Mantis and Drax go on their little adventure and really get to flesh out these 2 side characters in a way that the movies have not up to this point. I mean, I like that it introduced Cosmo, it aged up Groot a little bit. They made going to Earth and exploring like the Walk of Fame and seeing all these cosplayers and Kevin Bacon, they made it not feel out of place, which is what I was worried they would do. But I shouldn't have ever for a second doubted James Gunn's ability to make good art. I think the ending of this is one of the best Marvel endings I can think of.
That's the greatest Christmas gift I could ever get.
With Mantis telling Peter she's his sister, and then showing more lore on the Yondu and Star-Lord relationship. And it's a beautiful, beautiful story all around. I love it.
And the bells are ringing out for Christmas Day.
Okay, we're moving into the top 6 here, the top third of this ranking. Some of the things on this list I'm going to have some issues with, but everything from here and up, I absolutely adore. That to the point that literally I could not rank my top 6. Actually, I couldn't rank the top 7, but once Jesus, that's itchy. But once I found a home for the Guardians holiday special, that was not nearly as hard as finding what exactly I was going to do with the top 6. So here we go. Also, I wouldn't be surprised if I rewrite the top 6 in this very video.
Are you here to help us?
This is our home.
Then let's fight for it.
At number 6, we have WandaVision, a show that will always hold a special place in just about everyone's hearts as being the first piece of Marvel content in over a year because the world decided to shut down for a while. And WandaVision also gets the title of being the only Marvel show that has successfully broken the internet every single week. Because every time that Please Stand By screen came on, I wanted to go find a Wii remote and hurl it through my TV screen. I think this project being what it is, it's so incredibly unique. That almost makes me excuse all the issues I'm going to lay out for you in a second here, but of running through sitcom history. And not only does it become a love letter to television and to sitcoms, but that builds into Wanda Maximoff's arc that these sitcoms were such an essential piece of her childhood. And in an attempt to find herself a home and create herself happiness, the thing she thinks of is those sitcoms. And yes, this show made Wanda one of the best MCU characters for good reason. Vision is also in here, and Vision was maybe the best character on the show, of Vision being so fake, but having almost more humanity than every other character here. He also gets to deliver the greatest line ever.
But what is grief, if not love persevering?
You've got Catherine Hahn giving a great performance for a villain that really isn't that in-depth or that interesting at all. There, I'm going to say it, I'm not an Agatha Harkness fan. You've got director Dick Wad Hayward, who is just pointless. You've got Monica Rambeau in here, who could have just been a side character, but ends up becoming a great character. But then you've also got the worst thing that I think Marvel's ever done, the worst creative idea. Well, not the worst. The worst was scratching Fury's eye out, with having a cat scratch out Fury's eye. So this is the second worst.
Ralph Boner?
Boner.
But that was so dumb, and I don't know why no one thought to realize how bad of an idea that would be. It almost, for the longest time, made me not want to rewatch the show. It soured the experience. I am not a fan of the finale. I've started to come around on it a little more as it's aged, and I've watched WandaVision back through a few times. But it just bothers me that a series that was so unlike anything we've ever seen before ended in the same way that every other thing Marvel does has. But WandaVision is such an exciting show. It's such a great character drama. It's such a great mystery. It's so good. I almost did put it higher, but it's still not the best. Bringing us into the top 5, we have Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, the final film in Phase 4, one of the most recent entries in Phase 4, and the 2-hour and 41-minute tribute to Chadwick Boseman by the people who loved him. I do not envy Ryan Coogler in any way with making this movie. This was a near impossible task that he pulled off almost to perfection. This movie gives Shuri one of the greatest arcs we've seen an MCU character go on. The way it mirrors her brother's arc in Civil War while also feeling like her own unique thing. And putting her opposite Namor, who's one of the other great Marvel villains. Ryan Coogler's great at crafting these phenomenal villains. I wish Universal would give the rights over so we could get a Namor movie. But I mean, I keep dreaming, I guess. You have an Oscar-worthy performance by Angela Bassett in this, and it fleshes out the world of Wakanda in an incredible way, because the first one, it didn't really flesh out the world a lot, whereas this one did. My issues with the movie are that while I understand why Ironheart's there, I don't think she's that as good of a character as they thought she was, and I hate that second suit. It's so obviously CGI to a point that it completely takes you out of the movie. And every now and then the movie cuts back to the white people, or the colonizers, as Shuri and Okoye call them when we see Martin Freeman and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and I don't think this added as much to the story as they thought it did, and it definitely pads out the runtime. They could have taken 15 minutes out of this movie, and this would just go way up there. And this movie weaponizes silence. You have the beginning and the end of the movie, the bookends of the movie being completely quiet, the silent Marvel intro, and then Shuri on the beach burning the funeral garb. But hold on, shouldn't she have had two? Because didn't she have her mom's funeral garb? I don't know. I don't make the rules. I just watch the movies, and I like them a lot. So Black Panther Wakanda Forever has some issues, but goddamn, this movie needed to be good. It had to be good, and it was.
Fight together.
Finish this.
At number 4, we have Moon Knight, a series a lot of people absolutely despise, and I'm so glad I'm not one of them. I think Moon Knight's one of the better Marvel things we've seen, and while I don't put it in the upper echelon of MCU anymore, I used to have it S tier, it's now dropped. It's dropped a little bit, but I will never view Moon Knight as a bad, well, I mean, it's possible I'll view Moon Knight as a bad series one day, but as it stands right now, I don't view Moon Knight as a bad series. I'm glad it exists. I'm glad I have it. And right up front, the three things, I'm going to say, right up front, the three things that make Moon Knight good are Oscar Isaac giving the best performance the MCU's ever seen, I feel. I think he was robbed of an Emmy. Ethan Hawke bringing so much to Arthur Harrow, who is, by the way, a villain who was in like one issue ever. And May Calamawy as Layla. I think she gets slept on because Ethan Hawke and Oscar Isaac are great, but May Calamawy was amazing in this series as well. And this show feels much more like a character study. There's not much Moon Knight in this. It's just a lot of Mark Spector and Stephen Grant for a lot of it, and it's a character study. And this deals with trauma and grief and loss just right in your face. I mean, most of Phase 4 does, but damn, this episode really does, especially with its penultimate episode there. And then sort of, I love this little idea there is that, you know, Mark's entire life has been defined by loss and really bad people. You know, when he lost his brother because of his own faults, and then, well, not necessarily his own faults, but he wasn't exactly not, you know, in the right. And then you have his mother being an abusive piece of shit. And then you have Arthur Harrow who's like, what if I just get rid of all the bad people before they can do bad? It's this cool little dynamic that there is there. And Sumi, I like the kaiju fight. I like the giant god kaiju fight at the base of the Great Pyramid. You know, getting to spend all the time with these characters, it feels new for Marvel. Just like everything from here on up is something Marvel's really not done before. But getting to explore those characters makes it feel so earned at the very end when Mark Spector earns the suit back. This show also has, I think, maybe the only line in all of Marvel television that has made me tear up.
You are the only real superpower I ever had.
Yes, Moon Knight is a series I love watching, I love rewatching it, And I think I'm going to go finish a rewatch of it soon because I still have a couple episodes left I need to get to. But I keep alternating between like that and Daredevil because I can never pick which one I want to watch. But I pick Daredevil because Daredevil's the best thing ever. The top 3. If you're keeping track, the top 3, none of these are the same form of storytelling.
You wanna see this, darling?
At number 3, we have Werewolf by Night. This stole 2022 Marvel, and this is, of everything that came out this year, this is the highest 2022 goes on the list, is Werewolf by Night. Taking a guy who has not really directed anything this big before, and putting him on Werewolf by Night, and having him make a horror special as an homage to early 40s and 50s horror films was such a great idea. My gripe, which I'm going to start off with my gripe this time. This is not the Elsa Bloodstone I know from the comics. I'm not super well versed in Elsa Bloodstone. I'm not super well versed in Marvel comics. I actually don't own that many. The MCU is like my main form of Marvel media, and then I kind of branch out from what I see on screen. But I've read some Elsa Bloodstone stuff, and this character just does not feel like Elsa Bloodstone to me. I'm hoping she'll grow into that at some point, and I really wish they gave her the red hair, but I'll take what I can get. I think Jack Russell, the actual werewolf played by Gael Garcia Bernal, is one of the great new additions to the MCU, and mainly because of Bernal's performance as that character. I love that actor. I love everything I watch him in. If you have not watched Gael Garcia Bernal stuff, you are missing the hell out. He is such a slept-on actor, and I will always go see anything he's in. I'm going to support my boy. He doesn't know it, but I'm part of his fan club. And seeing Man-Thing in here as a practical effect, 99% of this film is practical. The only thing that isn't is the beam from the Bloodstone. I'm pretty sure everything else is practical. The werewolf jumping from the ceiling was done on wire work. So yeah, this is mostly practical. But yeah, seeing Man-Thing as a practical effect that you can touch and you feel like you can hug him and interact with him. And to have him come across that well and what he brings to this story of how important he is, he's not here just for fan service. He's here as a very crucial piece of this storyline. And then you take all these positives that we have and you put it in a mass of blood and gore and then put black and white on it, and you got yourself a hell of a film. Werewolf by Night, amazing. I hope to see these people again. I'd like to see another installment of Werewolf by Night, quite honestly. Just make it like the adventures of Jack and Ted, and we get one every year. And at number 2, we have the best Marvel series. Well, Disney Plus series.
I'm 10 steps ahead of you.
You're not big on trust, are you?
I was a hater of Loki when they announced it. I didn't think this is a show that ever needed to be made because the ending of that storyline in Avengers Infinity War was so great to me that I was like, they're milking this for all it's worth. Which, let's be honest, they were milking Loki for all he was worth. But they remembered to make it good. Because this is a mystery thriller involving time travel, Kang the Conqueror, and Lightning fucking McQueen. Yeah, Mobius M. Mobius is great, and his dynamic with Tom Hiddleston's Loki is great. And he's such an awesome character to the point that when he doesn't get his jet ski, you get pissed on his behalf. You have the character of Sylvie, who I think receives a lot of hate, a lot of undeserved hate. I think she's a great character. And the dichotomy between Loki and Sylvie being that Sylvie's everything Loki is trying not to be. And so the final fight of Loki and Sylvie is literally Loki having to fight what he does not want to be. And learning what it truly is to love yourself along the way. Yes, it happens in a physical sense of him falling in love with an alternate universe version of himself, but it also is inward on Loki learning to love who he is as a person. Now, the main criticism I hear with this show is that the end turns into an expository mess with Kang the Conqueror, and that we go from a thriller into that. And I feel that the switch works in a way, and the finale would not be as good as it is. It would be the worst episode of the show if you did not have the amazing on-screen presence that Jonathan Majors brings. And if this is what he was able to do as He Who Remains, I cannot wait to see what he actually does as Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. And also, I just cannot wait for season 2 of Loki next summer. We're a few months away. But at number 1, the undisputed champ of Phase 4.
You're struggling to have everything you want while the world tries to make you choose.
Spider-Man No Way Home was everything I needed it to be. Not just from a fan service standpoint of getting to see Toby again, and Andrew again, and Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Electro, Lizard, Sandman, and all that, getting to hear great power, great responsibility, but also just in terms of a Spider-Man story. This is one of the best Peter Parker stories we've gotten on screen. I think it's up there with Spider-Man 2 in terms of amazing Peter Parker stories, of him having to struggle with unleashing the whole multiverse and really paying for his mistakes and the cost of what it means to be a hero, and this complete loss of hope, and then getting helped by his brothers, essentially, people, the other timeline Spider-Men who we've seen, and we've seen their journeys, and we've seen them as characters coming in to help our Spider-Man deal with his issues. I'm always a sucker for a revenge plotline where they don't seize their revenge at the end, and that's what we get in this one with the Green Goblin-Spider-Man relationship. I think Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin in this movie is better than he is in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and he's on the Mount Rushmore of great MCU villains despite not even being from the MCU. Alfred Molina, Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, they fell back into the roles of their respective characters that it felt like they had never left. It felt like this was a direct continuation to Spider-Man 3 and Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Far From Home, which it was, literally, but it felt like that just based off performances also. It felt like this is exactly where we left these characters, and they were just coming back to us. But when you take out all the multiverse stuff, you just have a great MCU story as well. This is the most Spider-Man that Tom Holland's Spider-Man has ever felt, and how they explore really what it means for him to be a hero, and the mistakes and the loved ones it hurts along the way, of him losing Aunt May in a scene that I didn't think would make me emotional. Him moving on from MJ, knowing that she'd be safer if he wasn't there, and that beautiful final swing across New York that, no, it's not nearly as good as several of the other final swings. It's not nearly as good as either of the Raimi ones. It's not as good as the Amazing Spider-Man one, but it has so much meaning behind it that I can't help but love it. Spider-Man No Way Home is a great movie. They use the fan service to push the plot forward instead of just shoving it down our face. Well, for the most part. There's one line where they don't do that.
I can help you. You know, I'm something of a scientist myself.
But it is everything I wanted from a live-action Spider-Verse movie. It's everything I wanted from an MCU Spider-Man movie. It's everything I wanted from a Spider-Man movie in general, and it's everything I wanted from a Marvel movie. This is quintessential Marvel. This is the best thing out of Phase 4. And when people say it's one of the best superhero films of all time, hell, I ain't arguing with them, because it's really damn good. Alright, well, there you guys go. That's my ranking of Phase 4 of the MCU. And before you guys leave, because I know you guys aren't going to watch the outro if you make it to the end of the video, before you guys leave, I have one thing I gotta say first. Next year, there's going to be some fun rankings, because I might not do a Marvel movie ranking afterwards, because holy crap, there's too many. But I will do, at the end of every year until it's over, a multiverse saga ranking of where we're just standing in this saga. Show rankings, maybe movie rankings. We'll see if I'm up for it. But it'll be fun next year when the multiverse saga has a bit more in it. But anyway, there you guys go. So leave your ranking of Phase 4, or at least part of it if you don't know the whole thing, down in the comments below. Also leave a like on this video, subscribe, click on the bell icon to receive all notifications from the MCU HQ. That's going to be it. Have a great day, guys.